Hello and welcome back to our Lord of the Rings LCG solo progression series. And today's quest is Fog on the Barrow-downs, which is the fifth standalone scenario in the game. This was originally released at the Fellowship event in 2014 and then later as a print-on-demand product. A quick reminder, in this series we're playing through each quest in chronological order of the game's initial release, and we'll only be using player cards that were available at the time of this quest release. I'm calling this deck Gandalf the White Slayer. Fog on the Barrow-downs is obviously from the chapter in the Fellowship of the Ring, Fog on the Barrow-downs, when Frodo and the hobbits are captured by the Barrow Wights and Tom Bombadil saves them. Just thought it was a cool deck name, Gandalf the White Slayer. It's not so much that Gandalf is the linchpin of this deck. He's part of a tandem with Treebeard, which we'll get to in just a minute, but let me pause just to say, if you've been following my channel in real time, you know that I've been on a break. I took 4 months off from the channel, and it was a good and needed break, but I am excited to be back and have every intention to continue and finish the solo progression series. It's just going to take me longer than I thought. It's just, as the player card pool expands, it's getting not difficult per se, but there's more options. And so to try to be creative and try to build good decks moving forward, I might need to slow down and not just churn out videos as quickly. Initially here, as I get started, I probably will slow down my release schedule and do once every 2 weeks. And that allows me to maybe work ahead. And then at some point, if I get further ahead, maybe I can move back to releasing a video once a week. But we'll see how that goes. So getting back to the deck, let's talk about a few new cards. We're using Barrow, who we're familiar with her on this channel, and Grima. I tend to really like Grima, and I've used Galadriel once before, and she's making her second appearance here. So Treebeard is new. He is a powerful ally from the Antlered Crown. He's an Int ally, and neutral, cost 4, 2 willpower, 4 attack, 3 defense, 5 health, so extremely high stats. He cannot have restricted attachments. That's true of all Ints. And at this point in the progression, you have Booming Int and Wandering Int and Treebeard, and that's it. But Treebeard enters play exhausted. That's going to always be true for the Ints. Kind of thematically, they're slow to be roused, but once they are, obviously they're powerful. And he collects 1 resource each resource phase. These resources can be used to pay for Int cards played from your hand. So very similar to Radagast in that way. He has an action, pay 2 resources from Treebeard's pool to ready an Int character, but you can use that on any Int, including himself. And so we'll try to accumulate resources on Treebeard, and he'll defend and ready later on in the quest. Just a couple of other new cards. Fellowship of the Ring is a Fellowship attachment from The Road Darkens. It's unique, attached to the Ring Bearer. We do have Fellowship Frodo from Black Riders actually in this deck, because this is part of the saga, even though it's a standalone. Each hero gets +1 willpower, and if you ever have a character destroyed, you would discard Fellowship of the Ring. Very thematic, that. All right, so Ninya is Galadriel's Ring of Power. So think back to Vilya and Elrond. You can attach this only to Galadriel. She gains a lore resource icon. So kind of the inverse of Vilya, which gives a lore character, Elrond, a spirit resource icon. And there's a quest action that utilizes her 4 willpower, exhausts Ninya and Galadriel to add her willpower to another character's willpower until the end of the phase. So now we can use that 4 willpower that previously, the last quest we played with her, we did not use Ninya. Everything else we've seen, let's get to the quest and see how we do. So good to be back. Okay, so we have Fellowship Frodo. It's the Black Riders one. We could switch him out with any version of Fellowship Frodo, but we'll use the Black Riders one. His response is helpful in this quest. But for setup, the first player claims the 1 ring and attaches it to the Ring Bearer. Attached hero does not count against the hero limit. The first player gains control of the attached hero. In multiplayer, he'd move around with the first player token, but in solo, we just have a full-time 4th hero. All right, let's look at our opening hand. It's good that we have Treebeard, but I'm going to mulligan for, usually I just hard mulligan for Keys of Orthanc. And I did not get it. Other hand was a good bit better. All right, here is the house of Tom Bombadil. After rescuing the hobbits from Old Man Willow, Tom Bombadil has invited Frodo and his friends to stay the night in his house. There, they are greeted warmly by his wife Goldberry, the River Daughter. For setup, set each copy of Great Barrow, Standing Stones, and Hollow Circle aside out of play, and shuffle the encounter deck. Here are all those locations. And side 1B, we only have to make one progress to advance. Here's a quote from the Fellowship of the Ring. "Let us shut out the night," she said, "for you are still afraid, perhaps, of mist and tree shadows and deep water and untamed things. Fear nothing, for tonight you are under the roof of Tom Bombadil." And we might just see Tom in this quest. So we get to skip the quest phase this round, and that's where we have the free round that I mentioned earlier. Force, at the end of the round, place one progress on the stage. So end of the round is when we will advance to stage 2. Okay, resource phase. And this is where I think it's wise and a good strategy to have heroes, if possible, that can take advantage of this free round. So let's use these actions. Galadriel exhausts to choose a player. We'll always choose ourselves because we have to. The player reduces his threat by 1 and draws a card. All right, and here's a Hobbit Pipe. There's 3 copies of a lot of cards in this deck. It's pretty much a small group of cards that we even want to get into play. It's a kind of a smaller board state, but I have multiples of 3 just to get to the minimum of 50. Where we don't need multiples, like Gandalf and his staff, and I think Self-Preservation is the only other thing we have 1 copy of. And then Shadow of the Past has 2. Everything else is 3, and so going to be a deck where we really can utilize Daeron's runes pretty well. Okay, Barrow will exhaust to draw 2 cards. And I wish that I think we'll have to play Peace and Thought at the end of this round to try to get some more things in our hands. So we'll need to make sure to save a resource for Grima or Barrow to spend on Peace and Thought. I don't love any of my options here. So I usually would use Grima's action to lower the cost of a card just to get us a little bit of resource acceleration. I don't really have good card draw options here. I mean, I could play Elrond's Council and trigger Hobbit Pipe, but it might do me no good. I don't have Test of Will. It wouldn't be a bad idea, I guess, to play Fellowship of the Ring, but usually leaving this round, I want to have a resource on Frodo, just in case at the end of the round there could be a card that comes out that we don't like. But I'm going to rely a little bit on Peace and Thought. I do want to leverage Grima's action here. So let's use his action. Well, we could actually use it during, I forget this, we could use it during the refresh action window, so we won't use it. We'll leave this resource on Frodo. We're not going to spend Galadriel's resource, and we're not going to needlessly spend Barrow-downs or Grima's. So we're going to refresh, and during the refresh action window, this is where we'll use Grima's action. Action, lower the cost of the next card you play from your hand this round by 1. That card gains Doomed 1. And so we have Doomed 1, and we're going to play Peace and Thought, which is has a refresh action, can only be played during this action window after having readied cards. Exhaust 2 heroes to draw 5 cards. So we'll exhaust Barrow and Grima. Okay, it's good to see a Test of Will. I'm feeling pretty good about that. And we have a duplicate here, so let's play Daeron's Runes to draw 2 cards. We'll discard this duplicate Fellowship of the Ring. Okay, so that's it for the round. We'll remove this time counter because it was helping me to keep track of this limit once per round. Okay, at the end of the round, we says at the end of the round, place 1 progress on the stage. So we will advance to stage 2. Across the Downs, after being well rested and well fed in the house of Tom Bombadil, the hobbits resume their journey to Rivendell. They head north towards the east road, hoping to avoid the Barrows. But a thick fog settles in around them, and they struggle to keep their way. When revealed, add Hollow Circle to the staging area. Each player reveals one encounter card. So here is Hollow Circle. It's a unique location, 3 threat, 3 progress. It's immune to player card effects. There's a travel effect, which we will wait to trigger until a specific point in the game. Each player searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a white enemy and puts it into play engaged with him. Shuffle the encounter deck. So because of this travel effect, we know that at some point we have to engage a white. Now we could potentially send the white back to staging with light in the dark, but there is a point where a white will engage us. And so maybe that's a reason not to do a low threat, and just you can't really sneak past the whites, because Hollow Circle, part of its travel condition is you have to engage a white. So with that in mind, let's just look at the whites real quick, because we are about to reveal a card. Just a few notes here. There are 3 types of whites in the deck. There's 3 copies of dark white, 3 copies of cold white, and 4 copies of Barrow white. Barrow white is 30 engagement, and these all have effects if they're engaged with you. So Barrow white says if it's engaged with a player, that player cannot reduce their threat. That's not good at all for this deck. And then, or just about any deck, this cold white, if it's engaged with a player, it's 35 engagement. That player cannot draw cards. Also extremely debilitating for this deck. But this one's not so bad. Dark white. While dark white is engaged with a player, that player's heroes cannot gain resources from card effects. Well, Grima doesn't. He's a way of lowering the cost of cards, but he doesn't gain resources. There is 3 copies of Keys of Orthanc, which I was hoping to draw into round 1. So at some point, whenever we engage a dark white, Keys of Orthanc will become defunct. But the goal is, we'll see it unfold, is we want a dark white engaged with us at some point. And there's a few ways. There's really 2 ways that you can engage a dark white. One is it just comes out and you engage it when you're ready, because our threat will be well below 40. There's also a treachery. There's 3 copies of this. Long Groping Arm. At the bottom of the Winter Reveal, it says, if no enemies are engaged with you, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a white enemy and put it in play engaged with you. Well, we would choose the dark white. So the first goal right now is obviously to just draw cards and build up our board state, but at some point we want a dark white to engage us. Okay, so we are still at the end of the round and we have to reveal a card. Now usually at this point, I want to make sure I have a resource on Frodo in case I need to use his response. Where's it at? Here it is, where I just cancel that card altogether and shuffle it back into the encounter deck. I also really like having a Test of Will, because if that card came out that says that I have to engage an enemy, I'm not ready to do that yet. And so having a Test of Will is good at this point. So we will see what we get. We reveal. Okay, we got a freebie. This is always good to see. Dreadful Song. It says, when revealed, attached to a questing hero you control. We have no questing heroes. We're at the end of the round. Counts as a condition, attachment, etc. So this just whiffs. Not bad at all. Side 2B, we have to make 14 progress, and we will hang out here for a while. They were upon an island in the fog, even as they looked out in dismay towards the setting sun. It sank before their eyes into a white sea, and a cold, gray shadow sprang up in the east behind. The Fellowship of the Ring. Force effect says, at the end of the refresh phase, raise each player's threat by 1. Right now we're at the end of the round. We've passed the refresh phase, and so we're not going to have to worry about that until next round. The players cannot defeat the stage unless Hollow Circle is in the victory display. Okay, round 2. So, Peace and Thought, it's not normal. There's some playthroughs I never play Peace and Thought. I just played one in the first round. I don't think I've ever had a playthrough where I did that, because usually I had a few options in round 1. In this playthrough, I just didn't really have anything I wanted to do. But hopefully with all this card draw, we'll get to Treebeard. We haven't seen him yet, etc. Let's use Galadriel's action, exhaust her, to draw a card and lower our threat by 1. Okay. So no Mithrander's Advice, and I can't play Peace and Thought. So I'm just struggling to get to Keys of Orthanc, struggling to get to Treebeard, so not optimal at all. Now what I could do is play Galadhrim Minstrel and try to, use a response to gain a way to draw cards, possibly. So let's do that. Let's just play Galadhrim Minstrel for full cost. She costs 2. Response: after Galadhrim Minstrel enters play, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an event card and add it to your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Okay, so there is Daeron's Runes, which I was hoping I could draw into. So let's play Daeron's Runes to draw 2 cards, and we'll discard... we will discard one of the Peace and Thoughts. Okay, things are still not working out for us. Usually, I guess this is good for a playthrough. It's better to not have the optimal situation, but usually I have more options than I do right now. Just struggling a little bit. This is why card draw is so important. You need to get to things quickly, and sometimes you just don't. Okay, so we need to use Grima's action somehow. I could just full cost here. I think I will. Let's just play another Galadhrim Minstrel. See if we could draw something. So if she enters play, we look at the top 5 cards of our deck for an event card. And we'll just take, I suppose, Mithrandir's Advice, which I can't play right now because I'm out of lore resource. Well, I guess I could use Grima's action to play Mithrandir's Advice for 0. Maybe not such a bad idea. But at this point, what I'm going to do is use Grima's action to lower the cost of the next card you play from your hand this round by 1. That card gains Doomed 1, so Doomed 1. And we're going to play for 1 Fellowship of the Ring, which attaches to Frodo, to the Ring Bearer. Each hero gets +1 willpower. That's just an extra willpower this round from Frodo, just to keep our threat low if something comes out we don't like. Okay, so we're going to save Galadriel's resources. All right, at the beginning of the quest phase, notice my threat is 29. So a hard and fast rule for this deck and for the strategy here is that if our threat is ever 29, we have to play Elrond's Counsel at the beginning of questing. You can't wait. And here's why. So my threat's 29. Let's say I don't play Elrond's Counsel. I'm going to look here at Treacheries. This card comes out, I think it's called Frozen in Fear. Frozen by Fear. Okay, it surges and has Doomed 1. So my threat would go up to 30 from the Doomed. It would surge. The When Revealed says until the end of the round, players cannot trigger action or response effects. So I couldn't play a Test of Will on the next card. I couldn't play Elrond's Counsel to lower my threat. So my threat would be 30. What if it surged into Barrow White? That would not be good because now my threat's 30 and I have a Barrow White engaged with me. So I want to be careful on that. Additionally, I don't like at all getting Frozen in Fear so early. So probably if I got Frozen in Fear, I'd use Frodo's response just to shuffle it back into the deck, because if it could surge into this treachery that forces us to engage an enemy, and I couldn't cancel it with Test of Will because of this When Revealed. So we'll see how all that happens. But so at the beginning of quest phase, I do want to play Elrond's Counsel, lower my threat by 3, and we'll boost Frodo. And I control Noldor, Galadriel. In response to lowering our threat from an event card, I exhaust Hobbit Pipe and draw a card. And I'll quest with Frodo and with Galadhrim Minstrels, 2 of them. Wait, why did I boost them? I have no clue. Oh, I must have done that somehow from the Fellowship, but they only boost heroes, so they quest for 1. So I should be questing for 3, 4, and 5. Yes. All right, we were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know why I messed up like that. Sorry about that. Oh, it's from Elrond's Counsel. Okay, we reveal Dreadful Song. When revealed attached to a questing hero, that's not something we want, so we'll play Test of Will to cancel Dreadful song. We made 3 progress. And we will not travel here. Refresh. Removing this time counter. At the end of the refresh phase, we have to raise our threat by 1 because of this forced effect. And we need to draw some... There's Treebeard. That's good. Let's use Galadriel to draw a card and lower our threat by 1. Let's exhaust Barrow to draw 2 cards. Okay, things are good. And this is why you have so much card draw. I really would like to have Keys of Orthanc, though. So I think we will play a resource. We'll spend a resource to play Mithrander's Advice. Draw 1 card for each hero you control with a printed lore resource icon. There's 2. We drew 2 cards. There's Keys of Orthanc. Very good. Now I'll spend a resource from Grima's pool to put out Keys of Orthanc. I'll attach it to Galadriel. Usually I get this out round 1 or 2 at the latest. This is the worst I've ever done in terms of Keys of Orthanc. Attach to a hero response after you raise your threat from the doomed keyword exhaust Keys of Orthanc to add 1 resource to the attached hero's resource pool. All right, what I want to do here, I think, I don't like that I don't have Test of Will. So what I'm going to do is use Grima's action to lower the cost of a Dwarven Tomb. And so it's going to be 0. It's going to cost me nothing. Doom 1. And I exhaust Keys of Orthanc, so now she has 3 resources. But I use this to return a spirit card from my discard pile to my hand. It's going to be a Test of Will. All right. And now I'll use a resource from Frodo's pool to pay for Nenya. We attach this to Galadriel. Now she has a lore resource icon, and she has access to the quest action. I'm not too worried about the quest action, so I'm not going to... I could put out Unexpected Courage for 2, but I'd rather save her resources. I'd rather use Grima next round to lower the cost of Unexpected Courage, maybe. Because I don't need... At this point, there's only 3 threat in staging, so I think I'm fine to wait on an Unexpected Courage. So we'll wait 1 more round on that. So we will just quest with Frodo and with the Galadhrim Minstrels and with Grima. We're going to play Elrond's Council to lower our threat by 3. My threat was 28. I didn't have to do that, but I do want to draw cards. We'll use Hobbit Pipe to draw a card. And we are set because we have Test of Will. We're feeling pretty comfortable. We reveal Cold White. Engagement of 35, I mean. We made 4 progress. And we'll refresh and raise our threat by 1 at the end of the refresh phase next round. Okay, this is where we get out Treebeard for sure. Let's exhaust Galadriel and draw a card and lower our threat by 1. Barrow draws us 2 cards. And we want to use Grima's action to lower the cost of the next card we play from hand, which is going to be Unexpected Courage. So Doom 1, which means we exhaust Keys of Orthanc, and it costs us 1 to put out Unexpected Courage. We'll attach it to Galadriel. Let's ready her with Unexpected Courage. And now I definitely want to get Treebeard out. This is really late in the game. I get him out round 2 or 3 usually, but 1, 2, 3... And at this point, I'm okay spending Frodo's resources. I don't need his response anymore at this point, really. Yeah. So let's put out Treebeard. And he enters play exhausted. And it says he collects 1 resource each resource phase. So per round, resource is going to be 1. All right, we've done everything we can in terms of drawing cards. So now let's, at the beginning of the quest phase, we don't have an Elrond's Council, but it's okay. Our threat's 27, so we're fine. Let's use this quest action. Exhaust Ninya and Galadriel to add her willpower to another character's willpower until the end of the phase. So she has 5 because of Fellowship of the Ring. She's got 5 willpower. She's going to put that 5 willpower on Frodo. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now Frodo's questing for 8. Let's quest with Frodo, with Grima, with 1 Galadriel Minstrel. I'll leave 1 ready just in case something happens where an enemy engages me. I could chump with Galadriel Minstrel. And we revealed Dark White. Okay. So we made 5 progress. It's good to see, as there are playthroughs where we don't see Dark White, and the playthrough can go on and on and on, but it's never a problem. It just means that you have playthroughs that last maybe 20 rounds or something like that because you just can't get a Dark White. So knowing that we have one, that feels good. But I'm going to wait a little bit before I engage Dark White. I don't quite want to do that. So we made 5 progress, and we refresh, and we remove the time counter that serves as a reminder. We raise our threat by 1 because of Across the Downs next round. Galadriel draws us a card, and we lower our threat. Barrow-downs draws us 2 cards. And, moving forward, I'm going to create a junk pile. It's just easier to see everything in my hand. I only need 1 more Unexpected Courage, potentially. I won't play Peace and Thought again, most likely. Don't need a second copy of Ninya or Treebeard. Okay, so it just helps me to see things a little bit more clearly. Okay, again, I'm going to wait a little bit before I engage Dark White, I think. Maybe 1 more round. And that way I can just make use of Keys of Orthanc, because the second I engage Dark White, I can no longer gain resources from cards effects. And so we'll just wait a little bit. But I do want to use Grima's action. It is worth mentioning that Treebeard is out, and also at least 1 copy of Galadriel Minstrel. You want that because there's a location. It's called Ancient Barrow. It grabs an ally and attaches it to itself. And so you would hate to lose Treebeard to that effect. So having a Galadriel Minstrel out is important. All right, I want to try to save spirit resources. At some point, I'm going to want to play this Dwarven Tomb, so let's use Grima, Doom 1, and Keys of Orthanc gives Galadriel a resource. We're going to play for free a Dwarven Tomb and grab an Elrond's Council. No need to play Galadriel Minstrel, really. Or even Mithrander's Advice. We're just we're past the point where we really need to draw cards. We're just going to go through the motions now. So at the beginning of questing, we will play an Elrond's Council. Our threat's 29, so we need to do that. 1, 2, 3. And that boost, we exhaust Hobbit Pipe to draw a card. And we quest. And of course, we have to remember to use Unexpected Courage and Ninya. In fact, I'm going to just prevent refresh on those 2 cards. It's just a given that we're always going to use this quest action on Ninya. And I do want to leave Treebeard ready. Do I really? I suppose I don't need to at this point because nothing's going to engage us. Well, I'll leave him ready just in case. Okay, North Downs, we made 5 progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will travel to North Downs. This is where I could optionally engage Dark White. I'm not going to worry about that. I think I'm going to wait a round. Maybe next round I'll do that. Refresh, raising our threat by 1. Next round. Galadriel draws us a card and lowers our threat. Barrow-downs draws us 2 cards. And we will use Grima's action. Doom 1. It gives Galadriel a resource. We'll play Dwarven Tomb and grab an Elrond's Council out of our discard pile. We just want to keep recycling Elrond's Councils. We're not playing Gandalf yet on purpose. No reason to put out self-preservation and all that. Okay, at the beginning of questing, remember we're using Ninja's quest action each round. We'll quest with Frodo, Grima, and our two Galadhrim minstrels will play Elrond's counsel to lower our threat. And boost Frodo will exhaust Hobbit Pipe to draw a card. And we reveal Chill Fog. When revealed, discard all resources in play. We're going to cancel that with Test of Will. We made 7 progress and cleared North-downs. So we've made the necessary progress. It just says you can't defeat this stage unless Hollow Circle is in the victory display. So I suppose it's time to engage Dark White. I just wish that I had more resources on Treebeard, to be honest. I will wait one more round. Refresh, removing this time counter. Threat goes up by 1. Next round. Galadriel draws us a card, and we lower our threat. Barrow draws 2 cards. And I don't need this Treebeard. Lots of duplicates in this deck. Once again, well, I don't have any more Dwarven Tombs. Are they all in the discard pile? Yes, all 3 of them. So I'm going to play Elrond's Counsel at the beginning of questing, and that'll give me a card to draw. All right. Yeah, so this round we are definitely going to engage Dark White and move on. At the beginning of questing, we use Frodo and Grima. We quest with Galadhrim Minstrel. We'll play Elrond's Counsel to lower our threat and boost Frodo. He exhausts Hobbit Pipe to draw a card, our final card. And now I'm going to use Grima's action, Doomed one last time, which gives Keys of Orthanc one last trigger. She got an extra resource. We're going to have played for free a Will of the West. Choose a player, shuffle that player's discard pile into his deck. And we remove Will of the West from the game. So now we have another draw pile here. And we reveal Cold White. We made 5 progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now it's time. So remember, I said step 1 is to just sort of build up our board state, and then we want to somehow intentionally engage a Dark White. So let's do that. Let's engage Dark White during the encounter phase during optional engagement. He's going to attack for 3. Treebeard will defend for 3. So 3 against 3. And it says until the end of the round, attacking enemy cannot take damage. Fine, because I don't want to ever attack or damage Dark White. But moving forward, it says while Dark White is engaged with a player, that player's heroes cannot gain resources from card effects. So I'm just going to go ahead and prevent refresh on Keys of Orthanc. Can't use it anymore. But it did its job. We have more resources than we could have had on Galadriel at this point, obviously, because we've prioritized using Keys of Orthanc, and that was with it coming out late. Okay, refresh. We're moving this time counter and raising our threat by 1 at the end of the refresh phase next round. All right, Galadriel draws us a card, and we lower our threat. Barrow draws us 2 cards. I'm not ready to put out Gandalf. I could, if you're ever in a playthrough where you have lots of enemies that are starting to amass in staging, you can put out Gandalf and go ahead and deal with his threat raise, because as you can see, we're going to be able to play Elrond's Counsel over and over and over again. But there's no reason for me to. The order of events is to engage Dark White and then to travel to Hollow Circle. But and then after I've traveled, so next round is when I'll play Gandalf again. We're just going procedurally here. I do need to use Grima's action to give a card Doom 1. No more Keys of Orthanc. I'm going to spend 2 resources from Barrow-downs pool to put out a Forest Snare. We'll attach that to Dark White. Let's play... Do I want to play Daron's Runes? I don't think I need to. I'll wait. Would rather play it later. Okay, so at the beginning of questing, I'm going to play Elrond's Counsel, lowering my threat. and using Hobbit Pipe to draw a card. And we're questing for 14 will make 7 progress. And here's Barrow White. Let me get a swig of water. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay, so Barrow White comes out, and as you can see, our threat's way lower, so this is the lowest engagement cost enemy. We made 4 progress. And now we deal a shadow to... no, that's not right. That was questing phase. Now during travel phase, we travel to Hollow Circle. Travel. Each player searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a white enemy and puts it into play engaged with him. All right, so we want to get our second dark white. And here we go. We shuffle the encounter deck. So we're where we need to be. Step 1, engage a dark white, defend, put a force snare on it, travel to Hollow Circle, engage a dark white, and now we have to defend 3 against 3 and no shadow effect. And I'll put this on top because I might want to make sure we don't have another enemy enter staging. I don't want to have to deal with too many enemies later. Okay, so refresh, remove this time counter, threat goes up by 1. Next round. We'll use Galadriel to draw a card and lower our threat by 1. Barrow will draw us 2 cards. And let's use Shadow of the Past to bring back I'm Waiting for You. So let's use Frodo's resources, 1, 2. We'll pay for Shadow of the Past action. Move the top card of the encounter discard pile to the top of the encounter deck. And we'll just cancel it with Test of Will, and we don't have another enemy entering staging to deal with later. We want to use Grima's action. So let's say Doomed 1. At some point, I want to play Unexpected Courage, so let's do that. We'll attach it to Barrow and ready her, and she can quest now moving forward. I don't need to put out a second or a third Galadriel Minstrel yet, but I do need to put out the Force Snare, certainly. So 1, 2, 3. Force Snare goes on to Dark White, and now we want to put out Gandalf and even his staff. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to put out Gandalf, and then 1, 2 to put out his staff. All right, everything looks good. Okay, we're going to use Elrond's Counsel at the beginning of questing to lower our threat. Boost Frodo, exhaust Hobbit Pipe to draw a card. And we'll quest. Gandalf does not exhaust to quest. And we'll send the Galadriel Minstrels as well. Oh, I forgot to quest with Frodo. I was thinking something's wrong. There we go. We reveal I'm Waiting for You, and we'll cancel that with Test of Will. And we made 14 progress, so that's 11 on the current quest, so we're at 39. This leaves play. It goes to the victory display. It says, at the end of the refresh phase, raise each player's threat by 1. Well, excuse me. I'm just reading that without thinking. We're in the quest phase at quest resolution. The players cannot defeat the stage unless Hollow Circle is in the victory display. It is. So Hollow Circle is in the victory display. It was that location we just cleared. So we move on to Lost in the Fog, Stage 3A. The light has now gone, and clinging night had closed about him, so that it was impossible to be sure of any direction, the Fellowship of the Ring. When revealed, the first player adds standing stones to the staging area. That's us. We're the first player. And then each other player reveals 1 encounter card. Well, we're the first player. There's not another player, so we don't reveal a card. Shuffle the encounter discard pile and each copy of Great Barrow into the encounter deck. So all these cards are shuffled back, and all these copies of Great Barrow. So we have a refreshed encounter deck. All right, so that's it for 3A. 16 progress needed on 3B. Progress cannot be placed here while Great Barrow is in play. Right now there's no Great Barrow in play. but there will be in a second. Forced, after a player is eliminated, and this is in multiplayer, at any stage, raise the threat of each player at this stage by 10. So if you're playing 4-player and a player is eliminated, everybody raises their threat by 10. This would be a really good one to play multiplayer, I think. The players cannot defeat this stage unless each player in the game is at this stage and standing stones is in the victory display. If the players defeat this stage, they've won the game. So this is a little confusing when you're in solo to understand, but we'll talk about, by the end of the quest, we'll understand what all that means. But just know the force effect doesn't matter because we're playing multiplayer. If a player is eliminated, we lose the game at this point. Okay, during travel, we are going to travel to standing stones. There's a travel effect. The first player searches the encounter deck, discard pile, and victory display for a Great Barrow and adds it to the staging area. Then we shuffle the encounter deck. So we've traveled here. Let's look in the encounter deck for a Great Barrow location. And here's one. There's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So a Great Barrow has entered play. It's immune to player card effects. Players cannot travel here. And there's a force effect that's about to affect us. Forced, after Great Barrow enters the staging area, remove each character you control from the quest and create your own staging area. Okay, so the word you matters in this quest. If you're playing multiplayer, the first player would always be the one that reveals the first encounter card, very much like Arkham Horror LCG in this quest. And that card would only, if it says the word you, it would only affect that player. In this case, because we're the first player, we traveled to Standing Stones, so we are you. This is defining you as the first player. The person who traveled here got kind of stung by the Great Barrow. So we have to leave stage 3 and go to stage 4 and create our own staging area. Very confusing in solo, but just imagine you're playing multiplayer. Everybody at the table is at this location or this quest stage, and this is the active location, and here's the staging area. One of the players is the first player. They just traveled to Standing Stones. This came out and affected only them. They leave all of this, and they go to stage 4. All of this remains in play. Everybody else is still at stage 3, dealing with these barrow wights and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and move stage 3 and the active location and the staging area. It's still on the board. It's still on the table, but we're just not there. We go to stage 4. So let's go to the quest deck. There are 5. Stage 4s are all the same, but now we retain the enemies engaged with us, but anything in staging is at stage 3B. We're just not there. We're at stage 4. Trapped inside a barrow. Then suddenly he knew that he was imprisoned, caught hopelessly. He was in a barrow. When revealed, end your quest phase. Well, we're in travel, so that doesn't apply, but it could if a Great Barrow had come out during staging, for instance. Discard cards from the encounter deck until a white enemy is discarded. Add the discarded white enemy to the staging area. Okay? So let's discard until we see a white enemy. It's going to be cold white. It's added to staging, our staging, stage 4. Now it says discard all but X allies that you control, where X is the number of enemies engaged with you. So X is the number of enemies engaged with us. How many do we have engaged with us? 2. So X is 2. Let's read that sentence again. Discard all but 2 allies because X is the number of enemies engaged with you. So I can keep 2 allies. I'm going to keep Gandalf. I'm going to keep Treebeard. I'll discard these Galadhrim minstrels. And so this is where normally if you were proud of yourself and you had barreled ahead and you had destroyed every enemy engaged with you, you lose all your allies. So very similar to Redhorn Gate. Okay, but we have purposefully engaged 2 enemies and left them hanging so that we can keep Gandalf and Treebeard at this point in the game. So stage 4B, 9 progress needed. Then a wild thought of escape came to him. Force, when a location is revealed at this stage, this is helpful. Cancel its effects and discard it, then raise your threat by that card's threat. So no additional Great Barrows can interplay while we're here. No other locations. We're inside a barrow, so we're not going to also go to another location, right? So that's going to be true if a location does somehow enter the encounter deck or if it comes out next round, we won't add anything to staging. Forest, after the stage is defeated, advance to stage 3B at the beginning of the travel phase and place 1 progress on a Great Barrow at that stage. We'll look at that when this actually happens. But at this point, we are in the encounter phase. We're going to optionally engage Cold White. Shadows are dealt. We defend with Treebeard. But before we do, we will use Gandalf's Staff. Gandalf's Staff allows us to discard a shadow card from a non-unique enemy. This is a non-unique enemy. We'll discard this shadow card, which would have given him +2, which would have been 6 attack against 3. I mean, he would have survived it, but we just discarded that. So his 4 attack does damage Treebeard. We'll ready Treebeard with his action, spending 2 resources to ready him. We attack for 8 and destroy Cold White. And now we want to look at the shadows and discard them in an order that is advantageous to us. We don't want a Barrow White to come out. We would use Shadow of the Past to bring back Chill Fog. That's probably not a bad idea. And we refresh. At the end of the round, there is no more forced effect where we have to raise our threat, but at the end of the refresh phase, discard Gandalf from play. You may raise your threat by 2 to cancel this effect. So let's cancel that effect next round. I would like to, I mean, we don't know if an enemy's coming out. I don't want to deal with enemies. I'd rather just cancel Chill Fog. So what I'm going to do is use Frodo's 2 resources to play Shadow of the Past and move this to the top of the encounter deck. And we have 2 cards left to draw, so let's exhaust Bearvor to draw 2 cards. And we will save our resources otherwise. I do think I'm going to just play a bunch of Elrond's Counsels real quick. Lower my threat as possible, as low as I possibly can go, and then Will of the West, the discard pile back. So here we are at the beginning of questing. And I'm just going to, because I want to bring back Shadow of the Past, so let's play Elrond's Counsel. And then I'm going to play 3 copies of Dwarven Tomb. I'm going to use Grima, use his action to play 1 for free. And then I'll spend 2 resources to play the others. So all 3 of those brought back Elrond's Counsel. And I'm going to play all 3 of them. And we'll lower our threat. And raise our willpower by 1 for each one. And then I'm going to spend a resource to play Will of the West. Choose a player that shuffle that player's discard pile into his deck. And now I'll use Galadriel's action to lower my threat and draw a card. There's a Shadow of the Past. That's kind of what I wanted. Let's play Daeron's Runes to draw 2 cards. And we'll discard this one. We'll use Daeron's Runes to draw 2 cards. And discard this. And Daeron's Runes to draw 2 cards. And discard Fellowship of the Ring. Okay, so we're going to quest. Here we go. We reveal Chill Fog, which we knew was coming. We'll cancel that with Test of Will. 22 progress. And I just did all that with the brought back Chill Fog because I didn't want an enemy to enter the staging area and then have to deal with it, because we will go back to stage 3, but your staging would combine. So anything in your staging isn't left behind. Okay, after this stage is defeated, advance to stage 3 at the beginning of the travel phase. So that matters in multiplayer, but technically we wouldn't advance during quest resolution. So at the beginning of travel, we go back to stage 3B. And we combine staging areas with stage 3B. So that's why I didn't want an enemy to come out. And it tells us we place 1 progress on a Great Barrow at stage 3. There is 1 Great Barrow. So we put a progress on Great Barrow. It goes to the victory display. And now we go back to where we came from, stage 3, with his active location, with the 3 Barrow whites, or just whites in general. Okay, during the encounter phase, we will engage Barrow white. And he's, shadow cards are dealt. We'll defend with Treebeard. We'll use Gandalf's Staff to discard the shadow. So 5 against 3 is 2 damage on Treebeard. We'll ready Treebeard with his action. We attack for 8 and destroy Barrow white. Now we want to look at what's... we don't like Frozen in Fear. We like Ancient Barrow. So we'll discard that to the top from when we discard shadow cards. Refresh. Removing the time counter, raising our threat by 2 to keep Gandalf. Next round. And I think this is the last round, I think. Let's use Galadriel's action to draw a card. And we'll lower our threat by 1. Bearvor will draw us 2 cards. We'll ready Bearvor. Okay, we want this to come out. This could be a great Barrow on top of the encounter deck. If it came out, we'd have to go back to stage 4. And we don't want to mess with that. So let's use Grima's action to lower the cost of Shadow of the Past. To, Doom 1, we lower the cost of Shadow of the Past, and so we spend 1 resource and play Shadow of the Past. Action, move the top card of the encounter discard pile to the top of the encounter deck. And we want to play 1 Galadhrim Minstrel to protect us against Ancient Barrow. I don't know why I keep putting a willpower on Galadhrim Minstrel. All right. I think the math works out where I don't have to worry about healing Treebeard, but just because, let's go ahead and spend 3 resources to put out Self-Preservation and attach this to Treebeard. As you can see, you don't need it sometimes at all, but we can exhaust this to heal him. So there are times maybe where there's more combat, and so Self-Preservation would be needed, but 1 copy is all we need. We'll spend 2 resources to put out a Galadhrim Minstrel. And she would search our deck normally, but we have no deck. Okay, at the beginning of questing, we're going to play 3 Elrond's Councils. And then we're going to play 3 Dwarven Tombs to recur and play 3 Elrond's Councils. We're down to 0 threat. And we couldn't use Hobbit Pipe. And we'll quest. 22 progress. I think we've got it. +2, 20. So yeah, we will not quite clear this round. Unless... yeah, we won't clear it, and that's fine. Okay, we reveal Ancient Barrow. It has a threat of X, which is 1, plus the number of face-down cards. Force, after Ancient Barrow enters play, each player places an ally he controls face-down under this location. So we'll lose this questing Galadhrim Minstrel, and we'll get it back if and when we clear Ancient Barrow. We made 20 progress. Okay, we did. The math worked out, and I could have sent Treebeard, so let's just say that we did, because I stink at math. Oh, threat is 2. 1 + 1. So we made 21 progress. So yeah, because I quested with Treebeard, I made 21 progress, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. And what is that? 17, which is 1 more than we needed. Again, my math's terrible. So that's it. We won the quest. The players cannot defeat the stage unless each player in the game is at this stage and Standing Stone is in the victory display. It is. And if the players defeat this stage, they've won the game. We have won the game in 11 rounds. So you can see it's very procedural. And if you ever play this deck, the write-up is very helpful because it tells you do this first, do this first. You would engage a dark white, travel to hollow circle. Well, engage a dark white, defend, put a force snare on it, travel to hollow circle, engage a dark white, defend, put a force snare on it, put out Gandalf, and advance. But sometimes you get playthroughs where you just won't get dark white, and every now and then Tom Bombadil comes out and ruins everything because all the discards you've gone through get shuffled back in. But with all of these Tests of Wills, or Elrond's Councils, and Will of the West, and Dwarven Tomb, we'll never struggle. I mean, as you can see, my threat was 0. So we just need to keep our threat under 30, typically. So there might be playthroughs where you would have to put Gandalf out early and start chipping away at enemies, but not a big deal. And so it's just a question of going through the motions. Well, that's it. Not my favorite kind of quest. I'd much rather play something like Battle of Five Armies Nightmare, where you're kind of not sure if you're going to survive or not. With this one, you kind of know what to expect. So it's fun to build these kinds of decks, to solve the puzzle, but maybe not the greatest replay value. If you want to play this quest, this is definitely one I would want to try multiplayer, because the idea of everybody being at stage 3 and people being snagged, and more and more enemies coming out, and we used Shadow of the Past to keep a Great Barrow away, but you can't do that in 4-player. So this would be a crazy one to play multiplayer. Would love to experience that one day. Well, it's good to be back. It's great that this game's just great. I love it so much, and can't wait to go next. We have the 6 adventure packs from Against the Shadow. So we've got to do the Steward's Sphere all the way through Morgul Vale. I imagine these are going to be really tough. But that'll take us a good bit to get through those 6 quests, and then on to the Dreaded Realm. So looking forward to a new cycle. So glad that you joined me. Glad, as always, that you were here, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.